Hey everybody, Jem Schofield here with the C47 and another episode of Gearbox. End of the week, last episode. Next week, some of the stuff's going to be on the road, so that'll be cool. So I wanted to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about a subject that is near and dear to my heart in the world of DSLR video. Something that I'm going to be covering a lot in workshops in the upcoming future. And it really has to do with this thing right here. There's the Lumisphere, the little dome here. And what I want to talk to you guys about is, again, a light meter and the purpose of that. Now, this Minolta that I have has a couple of problems. The first one is it's my wife's, and she's a still photographer, and she wants it back. So there you go with that. And number two, they don't make it anymore. So in order to get that light meter, you need to find it used. So one of the light meters that I've actually been linking people to in the past is something that I now have, and I want to show you guys. It's a little nifty little pouch. And, whoa, check this out. I'm loving the retro, though I'm sure when they created it, it wasn't retro. It's just probably still the same box. This retro packaging here. And this is the WESTCOTT light meter. It's called the L-308S. Now, the reason that I think this is a great meter is, well, there's a few reasons. The first one is its price. It's about $180 street. So you're not breaking the bank by getting this meter. The second one is size. As you can see, it is very small, so it can fit in your pocket, so it can go with you. It runs off of a single AA battery, which you can find anywhere in the world. And probably most importantly, it is not overly complex. So it is basically two types of meters. The first type of meter is a reflective meter. And a reflective meter basically measures light that is bouncing off of something or coming off of something. So if I were going to go ahead and bring this meter over by my camera, and then I had somebody standing here and I wanted to take a reading of the light that was bouncing off of them or reflecting, then that's the type of setup I would need to use. It is also a flash meter, meaning that it can read a flash kind of light or an ambient kind of light. And so that means that if I'm using continuous light, like in this situation, then I would set it to an ambient setting. But if I was using strobes and I was doing still photography, then I would go ahead and use one of the flash settings. So, so a reflective meter, again, is measuring light that's bouncing off of an object. And I can use the meter in both an ambient or in a flash mode. But the most common type of metering that we're going to do is incident metering, where we basically are measuring light that is in the same spot or in the same place in terms of how it's falling on the subject. So I'm standing in front of these lights in this certain setup. I have a camera over there. And what I want to do is I want to take a reading of this lighting setup in this position so that I can set the exposure, the aperture of my camera correctly so that I am not the way I am right now, and I can sort of see out of the corner of my eye that I am underexposed. So, so I just turn this thing on, and I've got the power on, and then I basically have to go ahead and set my shutter to what it is on my camera. And in the case of the 5D Mark II, we're shooting video at 30 frames per second. So to approximate a 180-degree shutter, I set this to a 60th. So that's the first thing. And then I have to make sure that the ISO on the meter matches the ISO or the sensitivity of my camera. So in this case, I'm set to 800 ISO. So that's what I have in here. And then I basically just take this, press this little button on the side, and then I get a reading. I'm getting a 2.8, basically a 2.8 right on the money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move over to my camera and walk over there, and I'm going to change my aperture to 2.8 as opposed to 4 right now. So I'm a whole stop off. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm at a 2.8 now, and that's what the meter said I should be at for correct exposure. That's what I'm leaving it at. There's some other cool stuff about this meter, though again, it's not overly complex. You know, you can take a reading in terms of a flash, just basically in terms of the light hitting the sensor, or you can actually open this up, and if you have a cord and you are basically firing those flashes, you can actually do that from here. You're basically firing the strobes directly from the light meter. So it's just like you would with a camera. but then you can get the correct setting in terms of your f-stop or your aperture. So that's cool. Also in terms of the ISO, if you go all the way up to the top here past 8,000, sorry, not ISO, shutter. When you go all the way up to shutter speed and you get past 8,000 on here, it actually goes into a cine speed mode where it's actually showing you frames. So if you're using a film camera, you could set that. And not really that important when we're using a DSLR camera, but it is something that you can use. And so it does have cine speeds. So lots of really, really good things in this particular meter here for not a lot of money. This lumisphere here is used to read basically people or objects that actually have depth. And then there's this other little thing that you guys can put on, which is called a luma disc. And if I just slide this over here, I can put that in place. And let's just go ahead and pop that in. And the purpose of the luma disc is to take readings of things like a piece of artwork, or let's say a green screen if you wanted to light that evenly, and you see that it's flat as opposed to being a sphere or half of a sphere. So there you go. That's the L-308S. It's also a reflective light meter, like I said. And in order to do that, you basically just slide the lumisphere over, so you can just take a reading like that. And that would be, again, where I would have the meter over by the camera, and I would be taking a reading of reflected light. So there you have it. L-308S. Great little light meter. See you guys next time on Gearbox.